Please. Do we have our call from Salisbury?
Yes, hello?
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Yes, I want to ask these gentlemen here tonight, the young fellow that just called appears to be several years younger than myself. Gentlemen, one reason here in Rowan County that I'm so upset, and maybe you can help me with it, the young man just asked, why are we all getting so upset? Well, I happen to have 150 acres where you're proposing to build the facility.
All right.
My father's passed it along, and Lord willing, I hope to pass it along to my family. Now, the young man that just called in evidently can't understand that situation. I've been told by three, I'm looking at a letter right here from Prudential Real Estate, that if this thing is built, what will happen to our land values? It's documented. I have it in front of me, and I'll be glad to share it with them. Whether that's perceived or whether it's true, it still is hurting our community. For the farmer that, like myself, I have 150 acres. My question is this, gentlemen. I'm sure you all live in nice neighborhoods with nice homes. Would you like to have it built right next door to you? You ask why we're so upset. I don't know how much longer, I'll be on this good earth. But my father's passed down the land. My son will inherit the land, Lord willing. And you gentlemen sitting there in your coats and ties and your professorships and such as that, you seem to take the human element out of this. It hurts me, gentlemen, that we have an incinerator like this built, and I have no say on it, and I'm looking at documents in front of me that my land value, and my daddy worked the land and his daddy, and now, what are we to do? We're just to say, okay, you're telling us that, oh, I'm sorry.
Let me stop you just a minute. If I may, encapsulate what you're saying, because all of our lines are full at this time. Your opposition is based on the harm that you feel will come to you from the decrease in your land values. Does that encapsulate what you have said?
No, ma'am.
All right, go ahead.
My question is this, I can't express it well.
You're doing fine, go ahead.
I've been told right here, I've got 3 documents from real estate people in Rowan County in front of me that this thing is built. Here's what will happen to the land. I don't care about that. Now I'm talking about a gentleman right there on the commission he's got no feelings whatsoever. These people have no feelings whatsoever for what our fathers and forefathers have put into this land.
Okay, excuse me just a minute.
Now you're going to come in and say, it's not going to harm you, just take it and just, roll over. What's the big fuss about?
Okay, let me interrupt you just a minute.
We've worked for this land, and now you're going to come in and say we're going to put up an incinerator.
Let me interrupt you just a minute. I'd like to keep personal characterizations out of this, if you will. We're trying to understand and address your concern. So encapsulate it for us. You're saying there's no human element in it, and the fear and the damage that you fear is what is bringing forth your opposition. Am I correct in that?
Yes, ma'am. One gentleman said that there's no harm to the community.
Wait 1 second. Let me see if we can get a response to that now, because we do have other lines holding.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let's get a response. Gentlemen, the human element.
This is obviously terribly important, and I object to any comment that says that I have no feelings for the human element in the problem. I think that the situation truly is this, that often for the public good, whether it's building a bridge or building a highway or some other facility such as a fire station, that some property has to be used for that purpose. And I'm not saying that this facility will cause no harm at all, any more than I would say that driving your car down I-40 would cause no harm at all. There is always a possibility of an accident. So I would never take the position that no harm will ever come to anyone of the environment. I can take this position. We will design and operate the facility to minimize any harm or damage that might come, which I hope would be true whether we were building a highway or a bridge.
All right, let me do this if I may. I know that this is an issue of concern to you and to many other of our viewers this evening. Let me put you on hold so that the discussion can be continued at a different time off the air. We have other callers who have joined us this evening. And I'm going to go to the other calls. Please excuse me, our time is very, very limited. I don't mean to be rude with you. We are sharing your concern. We'd like to address it, but we need to move along. Our next call, gentleman, is from Lexington. Lexington, go ahead, please.
What will this do to our water supply?
All right, question about the water supply.
We spent a considerable time in deciding criteria, in developing criteria and regulations that that exclude areas of the state that would likely be an area that a facility could contaminate a water supply. For example, we had the Department of Environmental Management map all of the watersheds for us. And in that mapping of watersheds, we said we would not site this facility within those watersheds. We also said that we had them map for us all of the surface water intakes for all the drinking water supplies of the state. And we drew a 2-mile circle around those and said we won't locate within that 2-mile area. Again and again, I could name 3 or 4 others in which we have developed that are protective of the public drinking water supplies of our state. If you would have some specific interest past that point, I'd encourage you to call our office and we'll give you more details as to what we're doing to protect those things.
All right, did we answer your question? All right, thank you. We have another call. This one is from Raleigh. Raleigh, go ahead. We have your call.
Yes, I'm calling. I watch the show a lot and I enjoy it.
Thank you.
But I'm from North Carolina, and I've noticed North Carolina go through the change. Whereas when I was a kid, you was able to go out and swim in the streams and ponds, and basically enjoy North Carolina.
Yes.
And some of the same situations now that I've noticed that you look and there's a slick film on top of the water. Some people used to draw their water from streams and stuff such as this. And, there was always that situation of saying, just like these gentlemen on this panel right now, saying, well, we're gonna do this safely. We're gonna put down these barrels for gas at this gas station. And this thing is supposed to last for eons, and there won't be a leak. Well, the gas has been leaking. We've been drinking it. The children are getting more and more deformed every year. And, I understand that, you try to minimize your situation as far as accidents go.
Right.
When you're talking about not just one person, we're talking about a whole chain of people here that are being affected by different things that we're putting in the ground. And we're drinking it and we're eating it. And nobody's being honest about the situation. Everybody is acting like, well, we know everything, but yet we had put down concrete drums at one time. They're leaking.
Okay, and what's your specific question
my
for
point
us?
is that we need to understand that all the poorer counties in North Carolina are the ones that's taking the brunt of this. They don't have the resources to fight it. In North Carolina, most other counties that are heavily black take the brunt of these situations. The farmers are taking the brunt of it. We're going to have to take, and look at some of, like the man said, some of these richer areas.
Okay, so
why don't they get this?
So you're concerned predominantly about the safety then this
That
evening?
safety issue plus the way they choose.
All right.
See what I'm saying?
All right,
Areas
gentlemen.
in which they're going in.
All right, gentlemen, let's discuss first the safety issue and then the selection process in a brief time, if we may.
In a very brief time.
Yeah.
Certainly, again, I repeat, there's always a possibility of an accident. There's always a possibility of some emissions from this facility. That's true of almost every industry in our state every day. I think that what I would like for our listeners to think about is, what are the options? Our industries are generating this hazardous waste, and we have it in our homes. If we don't have a facility to treat it, how long would we be able to send it out of state for treatment outside of North Carolina and maybe endanger others in other states? I think that we have a responsibility to our industries and to our citizens who work for those industries to build a safe facility, as safe as we know how. But there was never a facility constructed that was absolutely safe.
All right, and are we citing it for poor counties?
No, the criteria were based on technical information and technical guidelines, some of which was already stated in federal and state regulations. But no consideration was given, or a specific criterion, that a county with a low average income, family income, would be selected over any other county. The technical criteria dealt with the safety of the facility, protection of groundwater, impact on air, all the things that have been mentioned this evening.
Excuse me, I'll just say this and I'll hang up, is that I hear what you just said, but I'm just saying to you that if you look back, as a person like me, I can read and write, okay? And I can look back and look at the way that these choices have been made over the years, okay? And then you can sit there and say that it just so happens that it comes out this way. And I'm just saying it don't just so happen to come out this way. I'm saying that these areas are chosen simply because of the economic background, and I'm saying that they do not have the resources to fight back. And I'm just saying to you, if you actually sit down and looked at the situation, you would see over the years that the chain does go in those areas where the people cannot fight back.
All right. Thank you very much for your concern. We appreciate your sharing that with us this evening, and I wish we had more time to deal with every specific you've mentioned. But first, we have a call. This one is from Asheville. Asheville, go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to ask if there is any consideration given to who will, somebody or some force within the state that will assess the manufacture of these products that are creating this hazardous waste. Does the manufacturer have any financial responsibility?
All right, gentlemen, can you address this question?
Well, first of all, the manufacturer has to be inspected regularly if he generates hazardous waste. So he is constantly being inspected and regulated and monitored. That's one thing. The generator also has to pay the cost of shipping his waste off-site and having it treated or disposed of. So that's another cost. So the generator is already paying part of the cost of this facility, and certainly for the facility that we are planning, the waste being shipped to that facility will pay the total cost of operating the facility, which must come from the generators, from the manufacturers.
And in addition to that, the EPA says in its regulations that the generator is always responsible for his waste. So if there is an accident while he's managing it, if there is an accident while it's being transported to the facility, or if for some reason there was a problem at the facility and the material had to be recovered from that facility, the generator is always responsible for that waste, from cradle to grave, as it's said.
All right, did we answer your question, sir?
Well, we have a situation here in Asheville with a company, I think it's now owned by an outfit called Chemtronics. It's been through several different manufacturers. They're creating a lot of hazardous waste. They've done a lot of damage to the groundwater in the Swannanoa Valley. Nobody's ever held them accountable. The EPA, the taxpayers' money is going in there to clean this mess up. It looks to me like they should be held responsible. And there should be some statute on the books to go back and bring to truth these various owners of this company over the years, or this facility over the years.
All right. Sounds like a complicated problem for your community. I'm afraid we can't address that specific issue this evening, but thank you for joining us.
Another question, please.
Go ahead.
Have any of the people on this environmental hype read the book Coerced Utopians by Rael Jean Isaacs? It tells you the whole story.
Let's get a quick yes or no, and then I'm going to move along to other calls.
No, I have not.
I see 3 no's
Right,
here.
brother, you'll find out where it's all coming from.
Thank you for joining us this evening. We have another call. This one is from Raleigh. Raleigh, I don't see a call on line 4. Could I get a better direction from my people? Okay, we have another call. This one is from Charlotte. Charlotte, go ahead.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. First question is, there's a lot of pros and there's a lot of cons to this.
That's what we're hearing this evening. Go ahead.
One of my questions would be, we see everyday interstates, of course, right now being built through Charlotte, and people are objecting because they're taking land that's been owned, like the one man said, for several generations in his family.
Yes.
My question is, in the near future, we're going to obviously build this facility because that's the way things work. Where are we going to be 10 years from now? Are we going to have to be going out to different counties again and again looking for sites just to fulfill the needs of these people? When does it stop, or where does it stop?
All right.
Or do we not just build one large facility someplace, get it done, and be done with it?
All right, let's see if we can get an answer to that question. I'm not sure we'll get all of your questions in because we have other calls, but let's get an answer to this question. The lifespan of this facility.
That's exactly what we're doing. In fact, the Commission has reviewed this process and said that they believe that this facility on one location is the best place to do it, or the best method to do it, and has chosen not to spread it out and not to make the facility very, very tiny and then have to come back 2 months from now or a year from now and say, well, we need another one of these things someplace else, and have to go through this whole process of upsetting a community again.
All right, does that answer your question, sir?
I think it does, if that, in fact, is what happens, and if we're not sitting with the same folks again 10 years from now and saying, oh, gee, it wasn't big enough.
Okay, and the lifespan of the facility that's planned is what?
20 years.
20
Minimum
years.
20 years.
Minimum of 20 years.
But I would hope during the intervening years that we will do a better job recycling, reuse, and minimizing the waste that's being generated, hazardous waste. All of us are for that.
All right. Thank you for calling us this evening.
Thank you.
Our next call is from Lexington. Lexington, go ahead.
As I watch this program, I can understand why we're about 50 in illiteracy. This thing should have been done 2 or 3 years ago. Industry should come forth and put forth their efforts and rather sitting on their hind quarters. We need this thing. We want to push it on somebody else. Let us do it. It would be an asset to the state to show that we can do something besides be so illiterate. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for joining us this evening. We have another call. This one is from Raleigh. Raleigh, go ahead. You're with us.
Yes, you gentlemen have been taking a lot of heat tonight, and I guess you're about to get off the air, but I just want to tell you that I appreciate the work that's being done on this, and a lot of people have mentioned their concerns about hazardous waste, but this is really, it seems like an attempt to collect it all in one place and to treat it effectively, and I think that a lot more people are recognizing in the society that we live in that we are generating a lot of hazardous waste, and just to be able to collect it and treat it, I think the time has come in North Carolina, as the previous gentleman said. So I just wanted to thank you for the time that you've spent and the efforts. I don't know if you guys are professors, two of you. I don't know if you get paid for this or not. It might just be that you've taken it on yourselves.
They're shaking their heads no.
We do not.
Well, then thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'd like to go back since we don't have any calls holding. First of all, let me remind you that we do have some time left. Our number is 919-733-6341. You're welcome to call us collect or direct from anywhere in the state. Let's go back to the question that we could not address fully because we did have so many lines full at the time. The man who said the human aspect, don't take my land. You're not considering what it's going to do to me and to my community. You've heard this comment. You'll hear it again and again in your public hearings. How do you respond to that, the three of you?
Well, I think we have said all along that we wrestle with that issue every day as to how we can do this thing fairly. I think when the General Assembly created the Hazardous Waste Management Commission, the idea that we were to develop criteria, technically based criteria, was a manner in order to make this a fair and equitable method of selecting the site. In order to do that, I think that says that we are considering everyone's feelings evenly and equitably as we go through that process. But also the General Assembly said in that same legislation that this is a need for the state. It is in the best interest of the state that we do this process, and as a result of that, they deemed it necessary. As a result of that, we have to go forth and get it done. I'm sorry if it happens to be that gentleman's land or someone else's land, but it's just like when we need roads and bridges and those kinds of things, we have to do this too.
You're saying someone's going to have to bite the bullet.
Somebody is.
All right. We're limited amount of time, time frame. What's the next step? Quickly.
The next step is to choose 2 acceptable sites and a preferred operator.
And your deadline for that is?
May 1st.
Okay. I'm sorry, our time is almost up. We can't take any more calls this evening. This special presentation of the Open Public Events Network has been made possible by the North Carolina Hazardous Waste Management Commission, with support from the Chemical Industry Council of North Carolina, the North Carolina Association of